Look at that. We are live, Colin.
Hello.
We
All
are more
right.
live now than we have ever been.
And here we are. And welcome again, everybody, to another edition of the It's Time to Lead Different live stream / podcast. I'll be your host. My name is Collin Dayley. I'm the CEO of the Circle Leader. And my partner, Dave Clare, my co-host, I was the CEO and founder of Circle Leadership Global. Today, this is, as a reminder, this is an arena, a safe place for us to talk about all things leadership and, what it means to be a leader. What are the next steps in the evolution of leadership? What are the biggest challenges facing leaders today? How do we overcome those? And as we mature this conversation, we'll be bringing people in and having different points of view. And but today, what we wanted to do was maybe have a quick conversation about some of the biggest challenges perplexing leaders, and that can be everything from business owners and CEOs to frontline divisional managers and anyone basically that's leading a team. Why does it feel so hard, and why does it feel like a constant struggle? And and really, what are the costs of us maybe trying to sweep that under the rug and or just trying to cope with the new sort of challenges that are erupting for leaders, without actually thinking in a new context or about new solutions. So kind of wanted to start there, Dave, and
Yep.
get your initial thoughts about what's changed and what's shifting in the world of leadership that's creating so much resistance and stress.
Well, I think first and foremost, the resistance and stress that leaders may be feeling right now, if you are feeling it as a leader, is because we're still leading everything the same way in a world that's totally changed. And what we also have to understand is that today's workforce is built for tomorrow's workplace. We just don't have tomorrow's workplace here. So we're trying to keep leading the way we've always led in a world that's changing dramatically, and acceleration of technology. I mean, we've talked about this before, and we talk a lot with our clients in the leadership workshops that we run, is even since the pandemic, the world changed, right? Everything changed. And then, AI has come along, and then now quantum computing, and, forget the geopolitical state of the world and changing in generations. But we can't keep leading the exact same way in that. Or if you continue to lead the exact same way in that, when everything is going like this, you're actually falling further behind, right? So I think this is where that, the tension or stress or anxiety for leadership today in the world is struggling with this. Is firstly, we're still leading like we always have, maybe tweaking and adjusting a little bit here, with a workforce today's workforce that's built for tomorrow's workplace, which isn't here, and in a world where everything else is already rapidly changed, and we're just not keeping up with the rate of change. So I would suggest that if you're being triggered as a leader and all that, it's a high indicator that you're not evolving your leadership.
Right. And those are good. Obviously, right. If you're in that state of stress and frustration and maybe even overwhelm and burnout, that those are indicators that something needs to be shifted. I know we've talked about this a little bit, but I want to dive a little deeper here because on the topic of evolution and what that actually means. In a conversation you and I were having yesterday, I was intrigued with really sort of the concept going a little bit deeper, and what it means for for the leader, and the implications of evolution. Maybe can you talk a little bit about your philosophy and how your view and point of view and what evolution means, especially in leadership?
Yeah, absolutely. So in order to do that, we need to be the contrarians that we are, is to look at it in its relation to growth. Because everyone's been focused on leadership growth and leadership, from a development point of view. So growth is about being more for more. It's doubling down on who you are and all that as a leader and trying to be more of that for more people, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
So growth is about being more for more. You and I are fully grown adults. We can't grow anymore. We might be able to grow out if we have a poor diet, but we're grown. That's it. We're grown men now. So growth is about being more for more. How do we keep doubling down and, like I said, do that? Now, evolution, on the other hand, is about becoming more. So when growth is about
Mm-hmm.
being more, evolution is about becoming more, right? So it's the steady progressive increase of our capabilities, thus our capacity for greatness expands. Because our capacity for leadership right now, however big that was, our bucket for leadership, when everything else is shifting and changing around us, we're going, I just don't have enough. And so I'm trying to be more, and I'm trying to be more of what I can for more people. But this is where the anxiety and those tension comes in from a leadership point of view, because we're not becoming more and then being more of that, and becoming more and being more of that, and so on. Right. So the more we increase our abilities, the capacity for greatness expands in leadership.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. So, can the concepts of evolution and growth coexist? I mean, is there because I mean, in business, and I'm going to take the devil's advocate, position here. Business, right? We, our remit, right, is to actually expand and grow our revenues and our profits and our reach and impact in the world, right? To literally go from this to that, right? That's sort of the essential goal of business. So let's talk about where those two things coincide, or where they merge into a system that can be maybe transformational for a leader.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm not. Growth is good, but it's great on the back of evolution. So if we make evolution the natural state of our business, and then we have growth spurts along the way, that's the relationship. We're not saying that you should, but if you're just focused on growth only, right? Growth only in a world where everything's evolving and changing so rapidly, you're going to get left behind. It's just
right.
There's no other need to explain it any more complicated than that. In a world where if you're doing more for more in a world that's going like this, you're falling further behind. So you not only you need to do more, but you need to be evolving while you're doing it. So it's what we say, it's the steady progressive increase of your capabilities. That's your capacity for greatness. Become more, then be more of that. Then become more and be more of that. Become more and be more of that. It's not just about being more. You have to build it on the back of evolution. We constantly evolve as human beings. You and I, even at the ripe ages that we are, we know that we have not peaked. This is not the best we can be.
No.
It might be the best we've ever been. You and I might be the best we've ever been, but it doesn't mean it's the best we could ever be. We know that there's an infinite capacity for greatness in us as individuals. And so I would need to make evolution my priority, and then have growth spurts of that, and go. And this is why we talk about it as the steady progressive increase of your. It's not the rapid increase; it's a steady progressive. So look, I've increased my capabilities. Oh, I can be more now. And I can become more and be more, and then become more. So there's a relationship between the two that is critical to understand. Not one at the expense of the other.
Right.
On evolution, not growth. But all I'm saying is make evolution a natural state first, and then have your growth spurts along the way.
Yeah. That makes total sense. And actually, if you think about it, if you are focused on the path of mastery, or through an evolutionary process, like you said, steady, systemic, incremental, right, and progressive versus exponential and completely disruptive, right? That then stimulates natural growth that is sustainable, right? And that literally builds legacy, builds long-term wealth, builds really inherent intrinsic value in the business that you're building, right? Is that kind of what?
Like you share this a lot, and you're brilliant at this. You talk about sustainable growth. We're almost about growth. The only way to have sustainable growth, which is what you're sharing with all these people in your wisdom, is the fact that is to have evolution as a natural state. So that's where you can have sustainable growth. When you don't have evolution as the natural state of yourself or your business or your leadership, and you're trying to be more, you have a finite amount of capacity. So what you end up doing is stealing some from the morning, some from the evening, or adding more people, or more and more and more and more and more, and then you get bigger and consume more. The more you have to consume, and then you have to feed that.
Right.
Yeah. So you want sustainable growth that you talked about with people. The form simple. Make evolution the natural state, and then your concept of sustainable growth is ultimately evolution and growth together.
Yep. Yeah. They are symbiotic. It's it becomes, it's a system.
Plus
Yeah.
growth or times growth, whatever equals sustainable growth, right? The
Yeah,
only way to make
exactly.
it sustainable, because you can grow out of business, you can grow into obscurity, you can grow into irrelevance very quickly in today's world.
Yeah, you can grow yourself into bankruptcy too, right?
Yeah,
So
what we call
yeah.
growing out of business.
Yeah, exactly. So actually though, today, the concept of scale, right? And quick scale is really, especially if you're in the if you're in the private equity or venture worlds at all, or
Yeah.
you have investor stakeholders in your business. A lot of times they're looking for that that ideal scenario of being able to scale your business to a certain point where then it becomes magically attractive to acquisition or merger. And how do we reconcile that because again, from a founder's point of view, right, it's it's really about getting to that metric as quick as you possibly can. So again, how do we reconcile, in your experience, as business leaders, how do we reconcile that?
Yeah, it's in the
To
scale thing is a fascinating thing, because firstly, people have to understand what scale is. I mean, if it's like musical scales, it's like that you go up the scale, right? So and each one builds on the next one. So scaling isn't just about being bigger, right? Because
Yeah.
if you look at a musical scale, each note progressively as you go through the musical scales. And I did some research many years ago on the whole thing about scale and scaling, and this misconception we have about scaling is just about getting bigger. So firstly, it's not, right? Secondly, then if you want to do it fast, that's great. I mean, yes, I understand, especially in the startup world, you want to create escape velocity. You want to get out of the Earth's atmosphere as quick as possible, right? To get into that outer space so you can be in that thing, right? So that's what they call escape velocity. It's when the rocket has enough juice to get it through there and into outer space as quick as possible. So you can also have unassailable leadership. You can be the first to market. You can be whatever, right?
Yeah.
And that's important. But we also know there's, you've got to take everything into context. This is where content sounds great. Well, we should scale and we have to scale fast. Well, if you take that concept and then you go take the Navy SEALs motto of slow is smooth and smooth is fast, the fastest way to scale is to go steady, progressive, increase of your capabilities. That your capacity for greatness expands. Thus, you can scale. Because what do a lot of organizations do? They try to scale very quickly, and the business gets bigger than the leader, and it crushes all down around upon them, right? Or their burn rate. They burn through people and cash so quickly that they run out of the humans and the resources that they need to do that. Right? And if you think money is going to solve your problems, you're focusing on the wrong problem. So when you want to scale your business, we need money to scale. No, as we've talked about in the past, innovation and ideas and all that, the way to scale your business comes from people, not from budgets, not from money.
Right.
So it's a finding game, not a funding game. So if you want to scale fast, get the right people, build an evolutionary path to do so, and slow is smooth and smooth is fast, and scale smart. And it's a progressive increase of the notes.
Yeah. Right. And
I don't know. Maybe you'll make more notes. I don't know.
No, I agree. And it is interesting you bring that musical analogy in as well, that in a musical scale, it's harmonic, right? So it is that each step in the scale is coordinated with the previous. So they're correlated and coordinated. Right. So it's not like a discordant, which I find a lot of times. I've worked with clients who've they've been this sort of on this scale, and then they're trying to actually reinvent and create a whole nother scale, and internally. What that does, it just creates internal conflict, and you cannot be both simultaneously, right? So, if you're, again, the ideal here is to pick a path, and then to your point, Dave, is to really be intentional about creating your process for evolutionary expansion or evolutionary development, right? That then will naturally lead you to to growth and scale. As you trudge the path of mastery, slow, smooth is fast. So, how do we? So that's cool. That's great. Now, again, the mindset of entrepreneurs, the mindset of business owners, a lot of times is just under intense pressure, right?
Yeah.
To, I mean, let's hypothetically, let's take a hypothetical, uh, you know, um, super aggressive new competitor in the market, or there's a disruptive technology, which we're all seeing these days with, all sorts of different tech, but AI in particular. But now, what do we do? How do we respond to that? When there's seemingly an existential crisis in our business. How do we apply this slow, as smooth, and steady as is the way to grow? Approach. What's been your experience on that? And then I'll share my thoughts as well.
Yeah, yeah. So like, and once again, please understand, I'm not saying that you should just take your time, right? Because it's like,
Yeah, right.
there is, I'm sure when the guys at Uber first started Uber, there was a whole bunch of other people thinking similar things, and they needed to get their idea out to market first,
Right.
Before anyone else did, and then get the right backing and the right support and build it the right way. It's a very controversial organization when you look at how they went about it, but look at anything. And we've got clients in New Zealand who are seeking to be first to market with something, and they need to create that escape velocity and all that, and the pressure they're under to get there before somebody else starts to do it. Geez, you can go back to the space race if you want, Colin, and go back to when
Sure.
it was the space race was who would be the first to hit the moon, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But do you want to do that in a way where you're the speed is what kills you? You go too fast, and you can put yourself in a challenge. So this is why, once again, you have to. I struggle with this because I don't think there's anything. It's not a simple answer, but it's also not a complicated answer. It's slow as smooth as fast. Start building there. Do it right. Don't burn through as much. If you can reduce the amount of burn, your burn rate, right, and how much fuel you burn on your way to get that escape velocity,
right,
and be smart
right there.
Surround yourself with the right people and the right things, and tap into that amazing talent that you have available to you, laying dormant in your organization, and realize that you don't have to have all the answers, and tap into that the human genius that's sitting around you that you should have freed up using AI and all these cool things.
Right.
But I'd love to get your.
My take on this is that the one interesting, again, let's stick with that slow, smooth model, is that like when you're in a high conflict situation, let's just a war zone, right? The real key to success in that is to prioritize and to recognize the maximum threats initially, and then pay attention to those first, right? So my experience is that as a business is experiencing naturally, right, those stages of existential crisis, because in every business that I've ever encountered or worked in or worked on has found themselves at those moments. It was about really I've forgotten the principle. It's Sun Tzu, Art of War, but the foundational principle of strategic advance through retreat, right? So a lot of times, there's that the capability to be able to just to come back to your core, or come back to the priority, and actually, sometimes, in that crisis, it actually creates, what you're talking about there is the impetus to become that which is unique, and which only you can become, which then is differentiated in the marketplace. So instead of actually freaking out about the crisis, maybe there's an opportunity, and this is what I try to coach my clients and help them, is to think, okay, what are the priorities, and then how do we then become that, what we need to become in order to really take advantage of this maybe hidden opportunity. So.
You're crushing it there with that point. Like, this is everyone just stop. What Colin's telling you here is stop, breathe. Like, just you don't find the answers in the chaos. You find it when you can get outside the chaos and just breathe, right? There's so many pop culture references to this that go subtly in many organizations, like in many movies and stuff, that you can use in your organization. There was a great scene in a movie called Unforgiven with Clint Eastwood and Gene Hackman. right?
Right.
And there's a saloon in the Western days, the gunfight breaks out, and then you just see Clint Eastwood, of course, being Clint, right? Just
Right.
slowly, really calmly takes a moment. Everyone's running around, guns, bullets are flying everywhere, and he just steps up and stands there and just picks off people, bang, bang, bang. And the guy interviewing Gene Hackman about the whole gunfight, and he goes, like, "What's going on?" He goes, "Well, you see, when everyone gets in panic mode, bullets are flying everywhere, and it's easy then to sit there and be calm in that. When you can be calm in the storm, that's when it becomes easier to solve the problem, right?" And so he was a big scene in the movie. But also, if you go back to Men in Black, when they were trying to solve this big problem, and was Tommy Lee Jones' character, whatever, said, "Hey, let's go get some pie."
Right.
Right?
Right. Yeah, right. Yeah,
We
I
don't
mean,
have
the
time.
world is,
We don't
yeah,
have
the
time.
world is about, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. The world's about the,
My grandma,
yeah,
my grandma, and grandpappy used to say, it's always talking.
yeah,
It's ensuing around me right now.
yeah,
And so that you can have just go get a piece of pie, and then you remove yourself from the situation. Then all of a sudden, guess what? Your brain has time to think. My very good friend
right.
Duncan Whittle, he's a creativity innovation guru, and he said, like, where do you have your best ideas? It's not while you're in the workplace, not in the stress. It's when you're going for a walk, you're having a shower, you're doing whatever it is. So how do you free yourself up in all this chaos and get yourself outside of the chaos and breathe?
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I
That's
think yeah, I think that actually starts with, leadership mindset. And, what you and I both coach and preach is that, really to be an effective leader, you need to go first so your organization and your team can actually go further. And, but the fundamental here is that what we have to do is move out of the realm of scarcity, move out of the realm of, created chaos. Um, and start to really actually tell ourselves a different story, that actually in the crisis is the answer, right? There's
yeah,
there's a book really popular here in the States. I think it's called the pain, or the pain is the way, or something like that, right? It's an
yeah,
old Stoic
yeah.
model. But and I know, business owners and entrepreneurs, they've had the fortitude, and to be able to take the risk, and really put in the effort and the hours and the time, and shed literally their blood. But at the same time, sometimes they can then get protective, right? And that can actually create blocks, from evolution and expansion being able to happen. So when that crisis comes, if you've built this sort of protective shell around your business from your mindset perspective, you can't even see that, in the crisis is the opportunity. And
Yeah.
or give yourself that, mental and emotional flexibility to be able to pivot, and to acknowledge that maybe this direction is not effective anymore when it might have been, and let it go and not have an ego attached to it. So
Yeah. Yeah. Usually
anyway, those are,
the way out is through in
yeah,
most cases,
there it is. Yeah,
right?
right.
Yeah. It's like, you got to go through the storm to get to the other side. Otherwise, most people give up in the storm because it's too much to handle. They get under pressure rather than going, hang on, how do we calmly batten down the hatches? What do we do?
Right.
Let's get through this
Right.
storm, because on the other
Right.
side is cleaner
Yeah.
waters, calmer waters,
Yep.
whatever. And this is where most breakthroughs are discovered, right? It's why it's called a
Yeah.
breakthrough. It's because you have to break through something. It's
Right.
like
Yeah.
the only
Yeah.
way to do it is to have a breakthrough. You have to break through it. So
Right.
where the pain is, or whatever it is, you have to find a way through that.
Yeah.
Right.
The trick, though, for a breakthrough is that you have to let go of the old idea in order to actually move forward, right? And that's a real challenge, especially for businesses maybe who are, you're in a succession model, right, where maybe it's multi-generational, it's been part of your family. That can be
Yeah.
really, really difficult, right? Because this is the way
Yeah.
we've always done things. But as we
Yeah.
started this conversation, the
Yeah.
way we've always done things for most businesses isn't working anymore.
No.
And if you
Business
think,
is the depth of your business, right?
yeah, exactly, right. So
So
it's either, yeah,
that's for you. It's the full circle you talk there. It's like, this is it. This is the problem. Is that
right,
isness? That the reason why you're facing this, or you've got this thing that you have to break through, is because you're there's a great quote by Buckminster Fuller, one of my favorite quotes of all time. And Buckminster said, and he was an industrialist, I think back in the 40s or 50s, wisdom beyond his years at that stage. And he said, if you want things to change, you don't do that by fighting the existing reality. You create a new model that makes the old model obsolete, right? And so when we're fighting the existing reality all the time,
right,
that's where all the tension's coming from. We're fighting the existing reality, right? But rather than going, what's a new model that will make that old model obsolete? What is the new model of leadership that will make that old model obsolete? And when we can break through to that new model of leadership, which is the stuff that we work with our clients on, is build this new model of leadership to lead different. Right. That's the only way through, is to break through and to create a new model that makes the old model obsolete.
Right. And it needs to be an evolutionary model that can actually sustain all the future crises and evolutions and changes that are bound to
not just evolve. Here, this is now the new way of. Then there'll be another way. And then there'll be another way. And then there'll be another way.
Right, exactly. That's the
progressive increase of your business and your capabilities and your capacity for greatness. And same for you as a human, as a leader, has to be happening. You have to make evolution the natural state, because stuff's going to keep coming at us. That's why we're here to evolve the way we work. We're not here, this is what people say, oh, we've evolved. And I said, well, the word evolved flies in the face of evolution.
Right. It's right. It's a verb. It's a verb, evolution. Not a.
Evolution is a process, not a noun. Right.
Yeah. It's not a state. It's an actual it's a state of beingness rather than just a.
Go evolve cool. Again.
I love it.
Go evolve.
Again. Yeah, exactly. Well, it's constant, right? I mean, the new stimulus and we adapt. So it's the same thing for our businesses. But I think there's a lot of leaders today who are, just so focused on, their day-to-day challenges and the frustrations of just trying to, execute. So one thing I want to point out here is that, and for anyone listening here or anybody who, might want to share this with, somebody in their family who's an entrepreneur or founder or a business owner, you're not alone, right? There are other communities, and there are opportunities for you to actually, within your own business, to actually, be seen and heard, and to actually, you don't necessarily. This is another challenge, right? I see a lot of business owners feeling like they have 100% responsibility, and they cannot ever share or be vulnerable in any way. And and so sometimes that idea of, hey, we need to evolve and we need to admit when things aren't working, it just flies in the face of what they believe they need to be as an entrepreneur or a business owner. So I mean, I would just suggest that there are forums like this where we can have these conversations. There are processes and programs like that we've developed here at Circle Leader and Circle Leadership that enable you to actually expand your thinking and to really embrace evolution as a way of mastery. So anyway, those are some thoughts.
Collin, do you think that if Kodak could do it all over again, they would do it the exact same way they did?
No, not knowing even. Yeah.
Do you think Blockbuster would do it the way they did it? Toys R Us?
Nope.
Monster? No. Right? All these major organizations the strategy would have been different. Right? So they would have learned from it and done something different. Yet we see it repetitively happening all the time, and we're not learning from it. Well, we are, but a lot of people, businesses they're still doomed to repeat the same mistake over and over that other people have made in gigantuan scale.
Yeah.
And that won't impact our business.
Right. Yep. Yeah. Exactly.
Do you think taxi companies are now wishing that and the medallion holders of the taxi thing, wishing they had created an app and just solved the tiny problem that was pissing humans off?
Absolutely.
Yeah. But they didn't. So someone else created a new model that made the old model obsolete. Somebody did the Airbnb, all these things. And it's happening all over the place now. I mean, those are just the most popular big versions of those. But it's happening everywhere.
No, it's happening. It's happening in micro business. It's happening, in every one
in
of
our world, in the leadership development, and like in the
totally.
the culture and strategy world, and all these sorts of things. And everyone's looking for the latest, gimmick and trick and technique to do that. And so it's happening in and there's no industry that's not immune from this.
No.
So
No.
So
No.
you as a leader, the world is changing. It's not going to stop changing. So there's just going to be the next normal, which is going to be a shorter normal. Those next normals are going to be coming so fast that it's going to be, well, evolution is just constantly happening now. And we've hit the curve, and we better make sure evolution is the natural state of our business. And then great, we can thrive in that, or at least survive in that, then have growth spurts to thrive in those things along the way. And that's the
Exactly.
same for you as a leader. You need to be able to do that.
Yeah. Amen. All right. Well, good stuff today, Dave. Thank you for the lively conversation and for your insights always, and for the forum to be able to have these conversations. For anyone who is listening or watching this later, if you'd like to learn more, if you'd like to have a conversation, again, as I mentioned, we're on a mission to actually evolve the world of work and to create those spaces where business leaders can actually rethink and re-engineer and reimagine their how they deliver and deploy their leadership in the world. So you can find us through our socials, and away we go. With that, Dave, any last final words? Anything you want to wrap up on?
No, mate, other than the fact that I've got to get out of here because we've got clients I've got to take care of now. So mate, I just thank you for, once again, a very inspiring conversation as always, my friend.
Likewise. Thank you so much. And we'll see you again next week.
Thanks, guys.